to episode of Excel TV. Get to use all 10 fingers this time. We got a special guest tonight. We're going to find out who won last week's challenge and a great conversation today. But first off, kick it off, Oz. Let us know how it's going.
It's going quite well with Dragon's Milk from New Holland. All right, we're having a good time here. Got on a nice bow tie from Ruffle and Tuck. We got a great guest. I'm Oz here in Chicago. Your Excel Data Gaucho ready to whoop some stuff on you tonight.
Jordan, what's up?
Oh, you know, just chilling in Dayton, Ohio. I'm drinking a tall boy of water from this Cousin Vinny's cup. Anyone who is from Ohio, or at least Dayton, Ohio, knows about Cousin Vinny's. The late night option. Usually they're not sober when they eat this pizza, but it is delicious pizza, and this is great water. I'm glad to be here.
So last time, Oz, it was Dragon's Milk with chilies, and this time you got some Dragon's Milk extra concoction going on.
No, this is just regular Dragon's Milk. That other one was a special reserve. A lot of stores don't have it anymore, but there is a Dragon's Milk wild cherry special reserve somewhere. But anyway,
that's got to happen, Oz.
Rick, introduce yourself.
So this is Rick Grantham, rickgrantham.com, also of exceltvshow.com, and this week is being brought to you by our good friends at DoubleTree Hotels. I'm still out here in Irvine, California, working on that consulting gig, and I know you're probably thinking, wow, Rick, you've been doing that for like ever. How big is this dashboard? I mean, really, how complicated can it be? I mean, it seems like you should probably be done by now. Working with some Lagunitas or something like that, IPA. About the time we hit the news section, we'll be on Johnny Appleseed Hard Cider. And if we stay around long enough, I'm in my pre-P90X stuff, so we're going to finish it up with some muscle milk.
Okay, all right.
Good stuff.
So that's what we're doing tonight. Welcome to Excel TV episode 10. Jordan, what's up with last week's challenge?
All right, well, let's just jump right into it. Let me just throw up our challenge item. Ooh, look at that graphic. That was a very expensive graphic. Brought to you by VBA Express, VBAexpress.com, who is sponsoring our weekly challenge item. So, if you remember last week, our challenge item came courtesy of friend of the show, Raheem, at excelbasement.org. So let me flip on our screen share here. It's always the fun part. I get to talk and click at the same time. Okay, it's up. So this is Raheem's challenge. We're going to click through it. So Raheem asks, how many worksheet functions are there in Excel 2013? Now, I was very clear. I don't actually know the real answer to this. Raheem asked this question, and he provided me the worksheet with the answer. Suffice it to say, nobody got the number in the worksheet, but we did have someone who was close. So let's just jump to the challenge answer. It was 448. Again, you're welcome to do independent validation of that. In fact, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up. So this is Raheem's worksheet. I think it's his worksheet. It's the one he sent me. I see a number down here, 448. I always trust numbers that are on computer screens, especially in Excel. There's never a problem over the internet. So that's how he, yeah, especially over the internet. We had Snopes check this. They said that was not part of their time. It was a waste of their time. So I don't really know what the real answer is. I wish I could tell you. I know that a lot of people gave different ones, but we did have someone who was close. So let me just jump back. And the person who was close was James Tays, and James is the winner, so you will be winning a free entry to this year's Model Off competition. Congratulations. He was the one who came in closest. I probably should have had his number down and give it to you, but I didn't write it down. But let's just tell you it was close. It was within 15. I'm pretty sure it was within 15. So I don't really know what the real answer is for that. If someone wants to come in and get independent verification, we'll certainly hear you out on that. But Raheem's, yes.
Jordan, I just like the title, Raheem's Challenge.
Yeah, to me, it rolls off the tongue.
It's like you gotta walk over coals. You gotta, it's like a movie, Raheem's Challenge. I like that, man. But every week should be Raheem's Challenge week.
I was like, I'm doing this contest, and I didn't even check it myself. But this was his idea, his contest. So That was the spreadsheet he gave me, but I don't know how other people came up with their answers, and we welcome them and we'll present them. So maybe Microsoft can, if anyone from Microsoft is watching, they can verify. That would be great. All right, so
I don't think anybody there knows the number either.
I know. They.
So did Raheem just list
question.
them? I wonder how he went about compiling this.
That is a good question. You know, we should ask him. So I will look into that. I will be your challenge investigator. But before we do that, episode 10. This is going to be this is an epic challenge because it's not us anymore. It's you. So what we want is your Excel tips, and usually you send them to the challenges at Excel TV Show or challenge@exceltvshow.com. But we want you to be able to share them. So post them on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on YouTube. We really would like YouTube comments, so if you can tape yourself, if you have the capability to record yourself doing something, we can actually show it on air. We can even mention it and put it on our YouTube channel. So this is going to be Oz is going to be the judge. He doesn't even know this. I didn't even ask him. So I just put this on here. So the first time he's seen it. So he is going to be the judge, and if you have a 5 sriracha tip, according to him, or if you have an interesting tip, we'll put it on air. So. Who are our winners going to be? The winners are going to be the best tip according to you, Oz. So this one's on you now. And we're going to have one random winner. So maybe we'll break out 6 srirachas. I mean, that will have to be an incredible tip.
Or how about a bottle of scorpion pepper sriracha? How about that?
Sure. I mean, if we have a graphic, if our graphics department could put that together for us.
Yeah.
We don't really have a graphics department, so if that can happen,
Google.
Yep, that is our graphics department. Copyright problems, but so if you have great tips, and we know you do, please share them on our Facebook, on our YouTube, and on Twitter, or any way you can really get to us, and we'd love to show them in our next episode. So that's all I have for now, and thanks for participating in the challenges, and also thank you to Modeloff, who donated their wonderful prize, the free entry into the Model-Off competition. So back to you, Rick.
So Jordan.
Yes?
Is the only way they can get this to you is through email? Again, no elves, no trolls underneath, no leveling up, no...
I mean, here's the thing. You know, I was trying to do the car talk funny jokes, and they were not landing. I think I was listening to them again. So if you think you know the answer to this week's challenge, write it on the back of a crisp $20 bill. I think that's what they click and clack usually say. So, and email it. I mean, I ran out of ideas.
Email a crisp $20 bill. See, that's great.
Know. Awesome. Seeing Telegram. We'll still take Telegram.
All right.
I should probably let you off the hook every week, huh?
Yeah. Okay, let's. All right.
All right. So that's how you get it to us. So next up, we have a very special guest. We have a guy who spent as many years in college as I did, except for he got more than a 4-year degree out of it. Got lots of letters after his name from MIT, known as the Chart Master, Mr. Jon Peltier of PeltierTech.com. John, would you mind saying hello and telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hey. Thanks, Rick. Hi, everybody. I guess probably a lot of people have stumbled across my website because they were Googling how to do something stupid with charts, and I'm kind of the expert on that kind of stuff. I didn't start out that way with computers or anything. As Rick said, I was in college for quite a long time, but I ended up getting I ended up finally with a doctorate in metallurgy of all things, and I worked for a good number of years as a research scientist and doing some production engineering and so forth. And along the ways, you pick up a few tricks. You need to do some number crunching, and the only tool that most companies seem to give their people is Excel. And so we got kind of good at that, and I was telling the guys before that, even before Excel, when we were doing charting, I was doing some nice charts for my thesis, and back in the day, most of the graphics were done by hand. You either did them yourself or you brought them down to the art department and they would do it. but we had just gotten ourselves this. It was a cutting-edge HP desktop computer, and it was. I mean, if you looked at it now, you would kind of laugh, but at the time, it was pretty fancy. And we hooked it up to an HP pen plotter. And the way those things worked is you basically had to tell it, okay, move the pen over to there, put the pen down, now move the pen over to there, and that's how you drew a line. And any line you wanted on your chart, you had to tell it to draw it. And so, you know, you got good at writing yourself do loops, so you got the right number of tick marks and the right labels in the right place. And you know, and then I got a I don't even remember what the program was. I started out on a Macintosh, believe it or not, and there was a graphics program there, and the thing actually drew all the lines for you. It was kind of amazing. But in the back of my mind, I never forgot that, you know, there's ways of getting all these lines where you want them. And so when I started working with Excel, you know, oh gee, I wanna put a target line there. And that's just a horizontal line. And of course, you know, you can use the drawing toolbar and draw a line. And as soon as your data changes, everything moves except the line. And people were like, well, how do I automate it? And you know, you probably get somebody there answering a forum post somewhere saying, oh yeah, what you got to do is write this VBA thing that calculates everything and it moves the line. And the thing is, if you put a feature in the chart and actually plot a line, it's just going to go wherever the axes tell it to go, and you don't have to do all this extra stuff. But you know, anyway, it's and so I said I started out as an engineer, and you know, after about 15 years of that, like most good engineers, I got a pink slip one day, and I'd been doing some, you know, Excel work, a lot of Excel work for myself. In the Maslow's hierarchy of programming, you know, down at the very bottom is, you know, programs you write for yourself, and you know, they do the very limited amount of stuff. They have limited features, and if something doesn't work, you just go in there under the hood and you tweak it and make it work. And then a little higher in the hierarchy is when you start like sharing the program with someone in the next cubicle. So it still doesn't need a lot of fancy features, you know, because it's doing something useful if the guy asks you to you know, borrow your workbook. But you know, it's got to be a little more robust because, you know, he sure isn't going to be able to go in there and figure out what went wrong. So you know, and as you move up the hierarchy, you get better at making the program a little safer for other people to use. You know, then there's your colleague, you know, he works in another division in your company, and so you email him something, and you know, and when you're finally starting to program for clients, it really gets complicated. You know, you think you do some dumb things with computers, but and I'm not saying clients are dumb; they hire you, right? But
Right.
well, I don't know, maybe that's dumb too, but the you know, it gets more and more difficult to make something work at an acceptable level of reliability. I mean, if it's a guy down the hall, he knows he can just you know, come down and bang on your door and you'll fix it. But I have to say, my last engineering job was not a very fun experience. I moved to a new company, and we were in manufacturing, and it's tough to be in manufacturing because, you know, everything is bottom line, and you know, you're just you lose track of what you're doing just to get things out the door. And I mean, shipping is good, but you know, it takes a big mental toll, and I hated it, and people were yelling all the time. And you know, I used to go on the forums all the time and answer questions, and this is back, oh God, a long time ago. And you know, people used to say, "Oh, do you do programming? You know, I want to hire you to do program." And you know, I'd say, "No, I got a day job, man. This is just something I do for fun." And one day I changed my answer to yes, and I told the guy, "Yeah, I'll do some run charts for you. Yeah, it'll cost you $50." And so I think by the time I got paid, it was probably about $1.50 an hour I got, because all the stuff that I didn't have to do for myself, right? He's like, well, I clicked the button and this error came up, and well, he hadn't selected the whole data range, and of course, I could tell him to select it, but if it's 200 rows, he doesn't want to select that whole thing. So you have to start thinking, okay, if the active cell is in a data range, let's pick the whole current region it's in. And you look back and it's like, duh, but these things are a revelation at first. And so I started doing this, and it was like nights and weekends, probably like 10 hours a week while I still had my day job, and that was actually a good way to get started, because I could make mistakes, and it's not like the production line would fail and so forth. It was just okay, it meant I had to stay up late another night to get it done, and I was lucky. I was thinking, geez, I really was tired of this engineering stuff, and the economy was bad, and layoffs everywhere. We were in the aerospace industry too, which is particularly prone to cyclical business conditions.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, geez, I kind of like this Excel programming stuff. I wish I could do that, but you're not going to quit a job if you're getting benefits and stuff. They really got you by the short and curlies, and so.
Good way of putting
but
it.
When they made the decision for me, it's like, okay, well, I guess we'll switch and start getting the benefits from my wife's job, and I had like 3 clients at the time, and a couple of them were able to ramp up the hours they were paying me, and it didn't take too long to turn that into a successful business.
Right.
And of course, I talked about the Maslow pyramid or hierarchy of programming, and when you're programming for a client, you're up near the top. But I along the way I built a bunch of little tools, waterfall charts. They're great little tools. Everybody wants to do them, and they're a pain in the butt to do because each one takes 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, now it goes from positive to negative, and the bar doesn't go across the line, and well, it means you have to write a few more formulas, and you have a few more series in the chart, but it's hard to figure that out at first.
Right.
But so I figured it out for a client, and I made some embellishments for another client, and put it all together and put it on my website, and started selling it. I figured, well, this will supplement the contract programming stuff that I did, and as it happens, the contract programming is supplementing the software sales. But see, now you're at the very apex of the hierarchy of programming. So that's got to be bulletproof, because whoever's using it, they don't know diddly about programming Excel. They don't know about, you're lucky they know the on switch. And so you have to make it so it's easy to install. And that's an issue with Excel plugins, because they don't install the way a Windows program does. So every IT department that touches it does it wrong the first time. So you're always thinking about, how can I make it easier for the poor user, and also if it's easier for him, it means it's easier for you, because then they're not calling you every 5 minutes, oh, it won't install, or I don't see the menu anymore. And so it has to be really bulletproof. And the first few times that I had a new release of software, and this is like 6 years ago, there'd be a couple of weeks where I'd be busy backpedaling because I forgot something, or something didn't work, or the data that I assumed would be perfect, well, somebody's got their own idea of what reasonable data is, and like, wow, I didn't even think of that. And so and it's a learning experience, and you got to be agile, and you got to be able to fix something.
Well, and also I think there's not taking it personally. Try doing the best you can to explain to people that this is, This is not like making a toothpick and then it's done. You know,
No,
all things are always changing. There's so many moving parts.
It's a living organism. You
Yeah.
know, it keeps going, and sometimes you have to perform surgery on it, and
Yes.
sometimes it needs training so it knows what to do, and sometimes you need to amputate stuff. And you have to forget how important a certain thing was for you to put in there. If nobody's using it or it's not working right, you got to do something with it. And I can describe a case in point. We had a little chuckle over this, but it was my question is, what's the stupidest thing you ever did in Excel? And I don't know what the stupidest thing I ever did was, but a couple of weeks ago I was making some modifications to my program, and again, this was in response to customers that said, well, it's a pain in the neck arranging the data so your program can use it. So I figured out a way of making it more flexible, accepting various layouts of data. And here I am. I'm proud. I was working with arrays, and I had it working just great. And of course, I used very simplistic data in my testing, and I kind of did some of the algorithms late at night, and said, okay, that's good enough. It looks like it works. And I shipped it, and that was 2 weeks ago. And last night I was actually doing an example for a customer. Says, well, can I plot this kind of data with it? And it's like, sure you can. So I put the data in it, crash. Oh, what's going on? And so finally I realized that it was only half baked, and it was only halfway implemented. And so I was up until the wee hours last night, got up early today, and I was working most of the day on it. And the program itself works, and I still need to do a little work on the interface. The interface is very important too, because somebody who you don't have the ability to sit and hold their hand has to be able to figure out how to use your program.
Yeah.
And because nobody reads the documentation, and besides, it's too hard to write documentation anyway.
Right. So that gets really complicated because because they want it to work, but then we realize as programmers and developers that it doesn't always work the first time, the second time, or even the fifth time. And it's a constant massaging of something, and then the road testing, or the road testing that you said to do the month ago that nobody ever did, and so now they're road testing it, and
you're testing on the production release of your software, and that's a little bit shaky. And the only thing you can do about that is when you get an email or you get a phone call, you respond as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And you say, man, I never saw that before, but show me how you did it. Show me what happened. And they'll say, oh, it's error 1004. Well, anybody done any programming in VBA, you know that 80% of the errors are 1004. So what's the error message? I don't know, something like it can't do that object. And so what I found is these online conference tools are very good for debugging stuff. Partly they're good because you get to see what they're doing, and you can even go in there and unlock it on their machine and fiddle around and test what's going on. But also the important thing, and I never realized this, you're an engineer, you're just working your cubicle and mind your own business. If the customer sees that there's a real person working on this, answering the phone and willing to help, and as you were saying, you didn't realize I was such a small company. It's just me here, so I answer the phone, and people are impressed. Wow, you answered your own phone. You're going to work on my problem, and I think in some cases that has helped sell more because they figure, oh, this is a guy that it wasn't perfect, but he tried his best to fix it, and he answered right away and stuff.
Yeah. And I get that from some clients, and a chef that paid me $500 for something she could have gotten for $40. She couldn't get the $40 thing to work, but for her $500 we got her something custom, and when something was wrong, she's got me on the phone at 9 o'clock at night.
That's right. And it's your business, and I have fewer hours on the weekend, but I still, I check the email, make sure there's no problems going on,
Yeah.
make sure the website didn't crash overnight, things like that.
So why? Oh yeah.
So, what's kind of preventing me from releasing my own add-in, I've had a few ideas, I don't know that they're as good as yours, is that I'm kind of concerned from a testing standpoint. So can you take us through what you do in terms of testing before you even release something? I mean, is it more than just having a friend try to break it?
Well, can I make? So I want to ask one more question about the freelancing, and then we get more into technical. So I'm just going to ask about before. So why didn't you say, I'm going to go get a better day job? Why fool around with this freelancing stuff?
Well, because at the time I was laid off, it was at the very bottom of the economy. It was it was getting worse and worse. 2002 was bad. 2003 was bad. We were getting to the point where they were laying off engineers every week, and I had within the last couple of years, I had relocated my family to take this job. I didn't want to relocate again. I did not want to uproot my family again, and there were like no jobs. And in this area, there were no equivalent jobs even that weren't hiring, and so I just didn't want to go through that ringer again.
Okay.
And I had been thinking of freelancing, and I had been doing a few hours a week anyway. So I had a little discussion with my wife. It's like, well, this might work. Let's try it. And she was patient, and actually she didn't have to be too patient. And
Wow.
and I won't say that I was great at it at first. I still don't think I'm great at it. Any programmer that thinks their code doesn't suck is probably not a very good programmer,
Yeah.
Yeah, it just and actually I've learned that it really suits my personality. I was not a good corporate employee, I didn't, toe the line and, yes sir, no sir kind of stuff. I had a big mouth, and a lot of opinions, and I didn't like doing crap that I don't want to do. And pretty much the boss I have now lets me get away with some of that stuff. And
Okay.
That sounds like you in the call center, Oz.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talking my language, man.
hey,
So Bearded Jordan have a question.
yeah, he was
Testing.
asking about testing.
I gotta know.
Yes.
I gotta know what the secret is, if there is indeed a secret.
Well, if there's a secret, I don't know it. I mean, I beat on stuff. I tested a fair amount. I try to think of the screwiest data I can put in, and it's only half as screwy as something that somebody next week is going to try. And earlier in the process, I had a handful of people that I would send some demo things to, and some other who I would consider our colleagues, other experts, other MVPs, other Excel people, and yeah, we get some feedback from them, but you get a lot of good feedback from the users. And if it's not so totally crap that it doesn't work at all, they can see that, hey, this is something that's pretty good, and they'll give you suggestions. They'll say, gee, I wish I could enter data in rows instead of in columns. And anybody who works with databases a lot, it comes in columns, but sometimes your data comes a different way, or your boss wants it a different way, or and so you get a little flexible, or you give them an option. Buttons on a dialog box are cheap, by row, by column, and like I was saying before about the guy with 300 rows, you didn't want to select the whole thing. You try to make your code smart about selecting the data, so that to make it easier for the user. And of course, the user, there's always some user that has some edge case that nobody could predict.
Yeah.
But once you hear about it, suddenly you think of 6 or 8 other things. Either you could do that would enhance your program, or that you could do at least to make your program a little bit more stable, a little more reliable. And it's a learning experience. I learn something every day, mostly about stupid stuff I did before. And I look at my code and I say, God, when did I write this? And then I realize, oh, it was only 2 weeks ago. Geez, I haven't learned anything in the last 10 years.
This morning.
But
yeah, I wrote that this morning.
I don't even recognize it. But it works. It's not perfect. And I mean, I know there's a lot of little things and they bug me. And it's usually, I have a big list and I get to them. Like if I'm in a particular module that makes a particular kind of chart, and I was having some issue with it before, I'll work on those issues while I'm working on the new thing that I'm doing. And and sometimes it's little stuff like, gee, that border shouldn't be black. I'll make it kind of gray. Or it'd be nice if those labels were closer to the axis that it's describing. But
all of that. And I tell you, man, that when it comes out, why is this so expensive? Well, sometimes the Excel or the math is easy. But getting an interface that makes sense, and getting things to line up, and anticipating, if this chart gets cluttered, all of these labels are going to get on top of each other. I've got to deal with that.
Yep.
So the chart is working. So yeah, you got to be a graphic designer and all of that stuff.
You got to be. And you also, sometimes you have this issue, and it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know how I'm going to attack this. The thing I said about this one chart, making the data easier to more flexible in how to specify your data, and I didn't know how I was going to do that. And I think it was 2 years, and I didn't really do anything about it. And one day, it just kind of started to become clear to me that instead of trying to do what I've been doing, which is copy, arrange, and paste links so it links back so if they change the data and stuff, I built myself a little module, and I'm kind of kicking myself because it would have saved me hours and hours over the last 5 years, but a little module that it goes through a range and just puts the address of that range into an array, and then you can take that array, you can transpose it if you need to or whatever, and you put that array into another worksheet somewhere, and it links back to the original place, and it's so much easier than the way I had been doing it. And in fact, once it's in an array, you can essentially, it's like doing your own pivot operations on this array. And once that came to me, it's like, first of all, I was kicking myself that it took 5 years to think of it, but it made a lot of stuff easy.
Yeah.
I'd like to jump in just for a second, if I could, because we're going to have to move to our next topic here pretty quick. But things I would like to show John is how your work has inspired me a little bit. And as anybody who's watched, anybody who has watched the show here recently, it knows that I've been talking about this dang conference that I've been speaking at, and I finally spoke at it last week. And I want to show you a slide or two from here. One moment, do a full screen here. I'll share my screen. Please let me know when you can see like a magic quadrant. See that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this is a slide from my presentation last week, and I was kind of go through here, but once I get to this slide every time, this is a magic quadrant. This is for a county that I did some work with, where the size of the bubble means the complexity of bringing them into a data warehouse, and there's the fire department, the accounting department, the human resources, treasury, etc. And you'll notice that each of these different quadrants are a different color. There's the ability to slide the bars. It's one of the things that John was talking about earlier. How do you? There's one thing to put a line here, but there's quite another thing to put a line that automatically can adjust based on you putting in different criteria. That's different. And so in this entire thing, whenever I go through this, and let me come back to me here for a moment. Come back. Okay. Hopefully you can see me now.
Yep.
Okay. And every time that I show something like this at a conference, and this is part of kind of creating an overall strategy, people are asking, where do you get this from? And every single conference, I have to go up to the whiteboard, and I write up on the whiteboard, peltiertech.com. This is an Excel charting guru, and this is because first off, I have to tell them, okay, so I'm not sending you to some website to where I'm trying to pimp out somebody's products. Go here and go to peltiertech.com, type in Magic Quadrant. You can learn how to do all this sort of stuff. And I just want to serve that up as just kind of an example of how something that's complex, that's actually kind of hard to do, it's kind of hard to figure out. You know, once you figure it out and I see how you did it on your website, then it makes sense. But getting to that point where it makes sense is, you know, you have to be kind of a little bit of a devious mind to figure it all out. So mad props to you. Thank you for that.
Well, and I'd like to add. So I'll have people who say, "How do I make this 3D chart in Excel?" And I'll say, "Don't do that." And then I'll point them to your website and show them, here's some alternatives. Or there's some other weird charts that, like ones where it sort of cuts off at the top axis to jump to another, or it cuts off at a top scale. All those kind of magazine-style charts, I'll say, you don't want to do that, and I'll show them, I'll send them your way and to your site so they can learn how to do these other types of charts that are much better and actually not that hard to do if you have the instructions. So.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, John. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next segment. Jordan, would you mind talking us through the topic of the week?
Sure. So today's Excel TV weekly topic is the stupidest thing you've ever done in Excel. So John was talking about this earlier. So we thought we would take that and go with it. So I have a few. I'm going to just give you the first thing I ever did, and maybe if I really feel up to it, I'll get you the other one, which was kind of embarrassing. So the first thing I did is I had a client product, and I was testing out fake names on it, and I was just running out of ideas. So I was young, and I guess I'm already young right now, but I was younger at this time, and I wasn't very smart.
You had more of a baby Amish beard.
Right, it was more of a peach fuzz going on.
More of a peach fuzz Amish beard. Nice.
So this is really terrible what I did. Okay, so I was trying to think of funny names because I was bored. So I started writing in like program names, like imagine like a series of programs because I did work. Well, I won't say who I did this for, but like programs that you may want to invest in, or if you're a company. So I started using names like Buttface, I think was one of them.
Nice.
Just really like Buttface 1, Buttface 2, and then as I was done testing, I thought I got rid of them, and then I sent it off, and I was looking through it, and I'm like, oh my God, I did not get rid of these. Get rid of all of them. So I sent them a really quick update. I don't think that they saw the older one, but that was the second stupidest thing I've ever done.
And it wasn't really Buttface, was it?
At least two of them were Buttface. The other ones, this is a family show. I'm not. Listen, I don't say Buttface lightly. All right, I don't just.
Family program.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
You know, there's web pages that have screenshots of dialogues like this that someone didn't clean up their comments and.
Yeah. What was the other thing, Jordan?
No, you guys go first.
Jordan, I gotta hear it, man. I gotta hear it.
All right. Okay, this is really more embarrassing in terms of a client engagement than it really is. It's Excel related because I had to present. Okay, so trying to think where to begin. It all starts with barbecue Fritos. Just keep that in mind because I love barbecue Fritos, and for some reason, you can't find them here in Dane except like a random Speedway. Or gas station is going to have these barbecue Fritos. What they have here are these disgusting barbecue like twist things. And I know you don't think this is important, but it really is very important to the story. So I was down in Florida in Cocoa Beach for a client engagement, and I had to present that day. I was taking all their financials, and I had to show it on screen. So keep that in mind. I was in the hotel room in the morning, and I wrote something stupid on Facebook about barbecue Fritos and how I hate those stupid twists because they're disgusting. And my friend wrote back like, hey, my uncle works at the barbecue twist plant. All right, so something incredibly stupid. So I'm sitting in this meeting. The people are on before me, and I'm just incredibly bored out of my mind. And it's not only that, I'm also the youngest guy in the room, so I'm very aware of the fact that these guys aren't really interested in me, and what I'm about to present is going to be ridiculous. So my mind's just kind of wandering off, though, and I'm trying to think of funny retorts to this. So I wrote down, like, my cousin is a Keebler elf. Because I was like, I'll write that later on Facebook as my stupid response. But I was afraid that I wrote this down in my notes as I'm doodling and just doing nonsense. And I'm sort of afraid that they're going to read this later. So I wrote like MY cuz CUZ. Like it was kind of encrypted. So then it's my turn, and
I turned it into hieroglyphics.
Right. Well, it was still sort of readable. At least I thought it was to me, not to anyone else. So I put all my stuff down on the table, and I go to the bathroom. I come back, and I'm about to show this dashboard that I made for them. And they're all, like, looking over my notes. And they're like, what does my cousin is a Keebler elf mean? This is, like, 4 hours after they did this really serious, like, slide presentation. I'm like, oh, it's just a dumb joke. And this is, like, all these higher-ups are there, and they're like looking at me like I'm such an idiot. Who is this young kid who he flew down here to write dumb jokes on his notepad? So that is lesson 2. And actually, it's just, here's
that was a bonus lesson.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna continue this going because this actually falls into the third biggest thing, stupidest thing I did. This all happened around time.
Tight. You got to tell a story. You got to tell it tight, concise.
All right, I'm gonna finish this up because I just remembered this because I used to tell people this part. So my Wi-Fi was still on, and I'm showing them this presentation in Excel, and suddenly a instant message from my then girlfriend, but now wife, pops up large on the screen that says, "Hey, love you, honey," and in front of all these people while I'm presenting. So remember, if you're doing presentations, flip your Wi-Fi off. Also, just flip off your instant messenger. So those are my stupidest things I've ever done, not just with Excel, but with clients' engagement. So there you go.
At least it was only text, right?
All right.
It was only what?
Text.
Rick.
Yeah. Well.
Rick.
Yeah.
Rick, what's been your stupidest thing?
So I don't have anything with Excel, man. I can't, outside of just the normal stuff, which is, misnaming things, etc. So I'll give you just a bonus stupidest thing. You ready? 1980s. I got a perm. I was a break dancer. Hold on, it gets better. I was a break dancer with parachute pants, and probably the meanest, toughest thing my 8th grade break dancer group could do was to get a group of perms. So realize a bunch of 8th graders walking around with perms with the parachute pants. So that's probably the stupidest thing, and I excelled at it, and that's the best I got for you.
That's not
Beat
stupid.
that,
People
Oz.
were doing
Beat
that.
Hey,
I bared my soul. That's nothing. Now I'm just embarrassed.
It's hard for me to think of stupid. I've told a story about how his client asked me to build a dashboard, and I pimped this thing out. I was sure she was going to love me, and her remark was, "I can tell it's smart, but I kind of hate it." So it wasn't stupid. I was trying to contribute, but I laughed. I felt a bit embarrassed. My pride was hurt, but I fixed it. I gave her what she wanted and took out all that extra stuff that I thought she was going to really just think I was the greatest thing. There have been other things like underbidding gigs, working hard. There's one time where, and this was early in my freelancing career, going and talking with somebody, and I love Excel. I love all these puzzles, and meet and talk with somebody for 45 minutes. I got an idea of what they want, and then I go home and start building this thing, and it's like 80% done. And I say, hey, okay, I see how to do this, and this is what it's going to cost you. And then they say, oh, well, it's not that really important. I just wanted to find out if it was possible, but I'll let you know. And that's why, that's why I didn't realize, as much as I love Excel, I had to think about my time more and get a sense about clients and what they want and what they don't want and where they're at in the process before I go, spend 6 hours building something. And, they didn't trick me. I was the one that did it because my mind was intrigued and I just latched on to it.
We've all done that, I'm sure.
Yeah. When I first started, I did that.
Yeah. And promising a friend I can handle something and think it's going to take 3 hours, and then it's a whole weekend is gone trying to figure this out. But like embarrassing, I don't know, that studying stand up and doing all this kind of stuff, like classes don't go well. That can be tough, but I don't see it as embarrassing or stupid. But like, oh man, this is not going well.
Sometimes you just get
I'll tell you.
class, but
yeah.
Well, I've spent time. Here's something that clients never really seem to want, and it took me a while, or at least they think they want it, which is I'll spend time writing a user's manual for them, and then I'll give it to them, and then I get in this awkward situation where they ask me a million questions, and I have to be like, it's in the manual, it's in the manual. First I'm really nice, and then I'm like, oh, I really just want to send you this PDF 7 times.
Come on, nobody reads those things.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
those are weird. I guess that's when it kind of gets weird. But I don't know. So no one has any stupid or embarrassing things. I guess I bared my soul here and put myself
leaving you alone.
You had me think about it, because I use random data generators, and I found a new one. It was really cool. You can generate addresses and all kind of stuff with it. And then after I got done with what I was doing, then I realized all the goofy names in there, hey, would you blow me and all that stuff. And then
what name generator was that?
I
don't think that was a name
going back to that thing because I am not going to accidentally send that to a client. I got rid of that stuff.
What name generator was that?
I don't even remember. There's a lot of them out there, and I
found on the internet. That's why it was so great.
Yeah, that's it.
That was just an Easter egg.
Not for what I'm trying to do.
So I think we need to end with that. That needs to be the end of the segment. With John taking us away with hot tips.
Right. Time for the Excel hot tips. Open up. Gonna feel good on your tongue. And who has a hot tip tonight? I do. Anybody else?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna steal the one John gave me before the show, so I'll do that one.
Let's see. Let me share my screen with you. We're gonna go into Excel Power Pivot. Not Power Pivot, but Power Query. So let me share my screen. Okay, so this is a common issue, so let me make sure that so everybody sees. Okay, so a common issue is getting data like this. Okay, so we've got team 1, team 2, and team 3. So we've got name, city, age. This one has start date. This is, the other ones don't have start date. So an issue is, how can you append this data, right? You can highlight this and copy it and paste it in, and that gets kind of messy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Power Query, and I'm going to go from table. Now,
Jacksonville, God's country. I love it.
Here is a problem here, because now we got to get on another screen. Okay, this one. This is the Power Query editor. Okay, so now we've got our Team 1 data. So let's see. So we're going to call this, let's call this Team 1, Team 2 query, and we're not going to load this to the worksheet, but we're going to apply and close. So that's Team 1. And See, it's
Jump
up
back
on
to
this
you.
two screen. Huh? Right.
Jump back to you.
Let me do a full screen here. Okay, so now I'm back to here, and let's see, make sure that you can see. Okay. Good. All right, so this is starting to create these queries over on this side.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got team 2, do a team 3, Power Query, table. Okay. Now let's see if we can append here. So we're in 3 now, so let's append 1. Okay. There it is. Now let's append 2. All right, so now they are all together here. Now we can see also how with this team that had start dates, the start dates are here, and there's a column for the ones that didn't have a start date. But everything has been appended, and so we can even do some things. We can add columns, remove columns. We can do a little bit of work in here, and we can even say close this and not load it to the worksheet, but just save it as queries that we can do work with later. But I am going to load this onto the worksheet, and so apply and close. Now it's created a sheet 6 with our appended data. So now let's change this format because it's changed to that Excel dating. So let's change this to short date. And now our data is all together without copying and pasting. And we did it in Power Query. And some other things that you can do in Power Query is, here, let's go back. Anyway, so you can merge, you can do a lot of things in Power Query. I'm just starting to investigate it. There's some great stuff happening in Power Query. It's worth going in and checking out just from being able to append that data without the copy and paste or trying to write formulas and dragging them over. So that is the hot tip that I have to share today.
How many Srirachis for that, Oz?
I'm going to give that 4. Yeah. A lot of people have to do it. I haven't tested it to see, how it compares to other things, but there was an add-in a while ago that would, well, it probably still does exist, but I tried an add-in that would append data, and the interface was complicated. But I think this one is a little easier. It's a little bit to think about in order to do it. But here in Excel 2013 with Power Query, you can merge and append data. Right.
Good stuff. I like that. I haven't really done a whole lot with Power Query yet. It's kind of like the
so you haven't seen that then?
No, I mean, I know sort of it, but I really have not seen that before. I honestly know so little about those Power BI tools. All I know about is that geomap that Microsoft loves to show people, that's bar charts coming out from a globe, which is not really good in terms of visualization. But
right.
That's their sale. That's their big selling point, is that weird globe thing.
Right.
So that's the extent to I know of it.
So John, have you messed around with Power Query much?
Not very much. I've seen a few demos, and not even recently, but a few years ago when the folks out at Microsoft were working on this. I was out there, and they were just then. They went through some kind of a funny cycle where for a while their BI was going to be SharePoint and this other stuff and not Excel. And so they had another team building like Excel functionality for whatever their BI stuff was. And then finally they said, guys, this is stupid. Excel's got all this stuff. Use it as the front end, and Power Pivot, Power Query. And I just remember seeing, like the example that Oz just showed, only they had big data sets,
Right.
and they were messed up data sets. And they weren't all in the same order. They didn't even have the same headings at the top. And these utilities were able to figure out, oh, that's a date. Maybe that goes in this column, and it'll ask you if there's some question, which dates match up with which other dates in the other table.
Right.
And it would go through and it would put all the dates in the same format, because some of them are just as text, and it looks like a date, but it's just text. And,
Right.
and it just goes and it converts all that stuff, and it makes everything neat, and it's fast. It'll sort through like 1 million records as fast as you can sort through 20 right on your desktop. And,
Yeah.
it's amazing stuff, and I just wish I had. The thing too is I don't have clients that are asking for that kind of capability, so I haven't really investigated it.
Yeah, and that's an issue, and we've talked about that here on Excel TV. I haven't been compelled to go deep into Power Pivot. I've used the graphical interface to create relationships,
Which is powerful.
Oh, yes, it is. And of course, the client has to have 2013, or say in my case with 2013, and I've got to append the client's data to give them something else. So it helps me cut down what I've got to do in the middle.
Right.
Yeah. But with the project that I have now, I see that relationships are going to be really handy, because we're going to be dealing with clients, projects, budgets, plans, and expenses. And I'm going to do that in Excel relationships, because this client does have Excel 2013 throughout their business. That's going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
No more VLOOKUPs. It's kind of sad.
No, actually, I never
Me
used
too.
them very much.
Oh, really?
I like index match better, because it didn't matter where the columns were, and you could do it in 2 dimensions.
Yeah.
But
But even no more index matches. I mean,
well,
with the relational database.
But the thing is like, VLOOKUP works. And if all you're going to do is do your VLOOKUP and then copy and paste its values anyway, use the VLOOKUP and be done, move on. Anyway, so anybody else have an Excel hot tip to make these tones happy?
I do.
All right.
I actually have 2 tips. So I'm just going to steal the one that John talked about before the show, because that's what I do. But I came up with a new tip too while we were sitting here. I really should have prepared, but hopefully it won't be like that time when Minda was on.
Excel gods speak to you, like usually in the middle of the night. This is awesome.
Right, I know. Most gods just punish me, but the Excel gods, they like me for some reason. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go back to Raheem's beautiful spreadsheet. Okay, so exactly. So this is his spreadsheet. This is the one that he sent me. So I've been right-clicking on cells and going to format cell like a chump. You don't need to do that. Wait, now let me make sure I said that one right. So if I this is what happens when I prepare. Okay, so when I don't prepare. If you hit Control-1, it'll bring up this Format Cells dialog box. So one way to do that, like a chump as I've been doing, is right-clicking and hit Format Cells. And this, John has said, is the most important tip in Excel. But an easy way around that, if you don't really want to move your right hand a whole lot and you have your left hand on the keyboard, is you can hit Control and 1, and that'll do the same thing. So if you're going to get into that model-off competition and you need quickly, this is a great tip for you, Control 1. Okay, so that was the tip I stole from John, and now we're going to jump into the tip that I want to give everyone, all you people out there. So most of you, let me make this bigger, and I'm going to actually make this text bigger so you can read it. And I didn't really have to select it to do that since we're working within the editor. Let's see, that's pretty big. Okay, everyone can see that. So most of you don't really know about the immediate window, and I am here to tell you how great the immediate window is. So I'm going to click View,
awesome.
I'm going to click Immediate Window, and you can see I actually practiced this beforehand. So let me, I'm going to hit Control-A in here to select everything and then hit Delete. So what the immediate window lets us do is print out information while we're running code. And it also allows us to do a little bit more, but I'm just going to show you this example. So when I type in debug.print, that is telling me to print to the immediate window. And just to show you it in action, you see there's debug.print, debug.assert, and assert we won't get into here. So I'm going to tell Excel to print out our for loop integer to the immediate window. So I'll just hit F5 real quick to run it. As you can see, it ran very quickly down here. So what's so great about this? Well, if you have a huge iterative process and you need to have status updates, you can have it print out down there. Of course, if you're also running through code and you're wondering if it got to a certain point and you don't want to do a break, you can also just say I can put a debug.print here. I can write hello. Not really a good example, but let's see here. It was up there. Let's just get rid of this real quick, just so I can show you. You can see it came down there.
0 to 10.
Great. So, what else can you do with this? Well, you can also actually do calculations down here in the immediate window, and I like to clear it out first because it kind of gets a little funky. So you can say debug.print, and you can always do whatever you wanted. So it works like this. It works like runtime or a command line code. So something we can do here is, let's say I am looking at this sheet and I have a selection here and I kind of want to know what the width is of it, or let's say I want to know something else, but width is the one I practice with in my head. I can say debug.print selection.width, and this prevents me from actually having to write a whole test procedure. I can hit enter and it's going to give me that answer. Of course,
you know how to do that
I really
quicker?
How do I do
Here's
that
a tip.
quicker? Oh, here's another
Bring
tip.
the immediate window back up. Now, in the line, okay, delete that. Just delete that stuff. We'll start fresh. Type a question mark.
Right. So the question mark is the shorthand.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot shorter. And
so
and
the question mark.
You could put a whole bunch of stuff in there. Question mark selection.width, comma selection.height, comma selection.font.size.
I think the question mark is the most interesting one because when I used to do quick basic, that was the shorthand for print. So it's kind of like debug.print is the they maintain that. But yes, as John was saying, you can add. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, John.
No, that's okay. I didn't know you knew that.
So yeah, so that is the shorthand, and you can add commas if you want to do more, and it'll give you this sort of tabbed printout. I'm trying to think what else we could do. Well, since the IntelliSense doesn't come up, I can't think of stuff off the top of my head. I've grown used to that.
Selection. But you can do arithmetic operations, and if you don't put the comma there, you can write commands. You can do selection.column width equals 10, and it'll make it 10 characters wide.
Right. So what's great about let's get rid of that first. So what's great about this? I think we have to use the other
column width.
Other width. Yeah, column width. That's it. What's so great about this is it lets you run code immediately, and you don't have to put in a procedure. So if you haven't started using this, remember it's under View, Immediate, and it really, if any of you have done Quick Basic back in the day, you'll remember that immediate window. So I really love this. It's great for when you want to find information on the fly, and it's great to make changes immediately. Sometimes I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, John, but if you have a public variable and you do a pause break, you can go down here and you can change that variable. Let's say you're stuck in a loop.
Not even a public variable. You can, of course, a variable you can mouse over in the code and it'll tell you. But
you can. But sometimes you. Maybe I'm wrong on this because I didn't. Sometimes I think if it's a public one, you can type it in down here and you can set it equal to something, and then it will safely leave the loop. You know what? Maybe I'll come up with an example on that next time. I probably could be.
It doesn't have to be a public one. It just has to be in scope in the active window above.
So there you go. So it has to be it has to be in scope on this active window. So
like
media window.
You could stop in the loop and change eye, and it'll pick up where with the new eye that you enter.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's some good stuff to know about the immediate window. Yeah.
Let's see if
I
we
can see some use in that. So for people who use VBA, I will give that 4 srirachas. All right. And then the control 1, I'm gonna disagree and give that a 3.
Boo.
No, don't
Wait.
boo me. I will come get you, man.
Hey, come
Is
on.
that any way to treat our guests?
Ah, man. No, he put some polish on your tip.
That's true.
That's right.
That's right.
Your tip was like a 1 sriracha, and then thanks to our guest, it's like a 4 sriracha.
Yeah, cause see, here's the thing is that I got a keyboard shortcuts and I don't know.
I don't use a lot of them, but I use Control 1 all the time.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's great. Like if you're working in a chart and it's hard to select that particular object you want, but you can use your up and down arrows to select it. And once it's selected, you can't right click on it, but you can do Control 1.
Ah.
Of course, the other trick is over between the Alt and Control on the right side of the keyboard is the button that brings up the right click menu.
Ah. Okay.
Which I use that a lot too.
Okay, so you just raised an interesting point about working with charts. Yeah. So okay, so I'm gonna check that out. There's a very few shortcuts that I use. But anyway, yeah. So I will give you a 4 for the Control 1. All right.
That's
Nice.
better.
Oh, that's better. Right. Yeah. All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
Oz.
Rixtafari.
All right, man. So
Wow.
we're gonna. I don't have any tips, man. I'm just gonna move on to the next section. So next up, Excel news. So I know you're thinking, man, how do I get my news? How do I get that on this top-rated show? How do I'm putting out a new book. I have new stuff that's going out there in the industry. How do I get that out here? Well, just send us an email at news@exceltvshow.com. That's where we're collecting all this information and then sharing all the show. So I got something for you today, Oz. I got something for you, Jordan. I was checking the email today, and our friend Murad Luha. You might remember our friend, our MVP from Germany. The last year or two, he's put together this World Cup Excel template. Or this kind of this interactive thing where you can go in and kind of put in your predictions and all this sort of stuff. Well, he's not doing that this year. And our friends, I got an email today from our friends over at spreadsheet1.com and the spreadsheetguru.com, where they're going to put out something specifically for the FIFA 2004 World Cup. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop and walk you through this real quick. Okay, so first off, again, confirm you can see my screen.
Yep.
You bet.
Okay, so there's a few places you can go to get this. First off, you can go over to the Spreadsheet Guru, and man, it's a pretty long URL here. But if you scroll down here, this is the FIFA 24 World Cup Excel template, and I'm actually gonna pull this spreadsheet up and walk you through it. Also, you can find it over at spreadsheet1.com. / and there's a big, not a long URL here, but in here there's a big old download button, and the thing is, the guys over at Spreadsheet 1 have this commander ribbon, or this ribbon commander, and they basically built what I'm going to show you here, this little sexy part right up here. They built this in Ribbon Commander. So once you hit that download button, here's what comes up. So first off, you have across the top here, you have venues, teams, matches, and about. So we're going to hit on venues. We select venues. You can select on any of these, and you see as you hover over, it gives you the actual stadiums here. So go ahead and click on that one, just as an example. If we click on that, it actually opens up and takes you to the destination. Well, first off, that's kind of slick. But wait,
Yes, it is.
there's more. So come on over here to Teams. So if you click on Teams, you can do either all countries here and go through all those. And let's just go ahead and, or you go through the different groups. Let's go ahead and hit on USA, USA. And we hit on USA, and we'll say, I want to see who the midfielders are. And there's a few names here. Let's see, Michael Bradley from Toronto. We'll go ahead and click on him. And when we click on him, this is going to take us to his Wikipedia page. So you can get all the information about all the different players. But wait,
All the different.
there's more. Absolutely. So in addition to the teams here, you can also go over to the matches. Now here's the cool part with the matches. So you can kind of click on here, you can play around with this, but what this does is it takes you to the different groups, and you can come in and you can make your own predictions of what the scores are going to be. Right? So in the first team, the second team for the first round here for the different groups, I went ahead and put in my predictions of the scores just to kind of fill this out, for Group A, Group B. Exactly. But you get the USA. So let's just go ahead and fill out the USA one because, that's what I love. And for my friend Murad Luha, I'll give Germany a 9 here. We'll go ahead and get Portugal. Yeah, we don't like those guys. We'll just kind of tab through this real quick. 3, of course, USA's got a 9. Germany 0, Ghana 1. USA, they probably going to score 9. 1. USA, I'll probably score 9. So let's just go through this. Go ahead, Oz.
Soccer season.
I want to here. Hold on a second. I want to come back, turn my camera on. I've been here eating peanuts. Anyway, can you put in something like a J or a -4 and check the validation?
Oh, good Lord! You're gonna test me here, aren't you?
I think.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Put in a letter.
No, I think they have their validation on.
Yes, beautiful.
Moves it right to 9. See, now you're gonna mess me up. The demo gods here, you're gonna mess me up, Oz.
This is the kind of stuff that we got to think about when we build this kind of stuff, because you get all the pretty stuff to work, and then somebody puts a J in
stupid like a -4, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on now. So now we're gonna go to the knockout stage because Oz, there's more to this.
Oh yeah.
So we come up here to the knockout stage. We're gonna click on that, and now we got, since we put in our scores, I'd already pre-populated this, but the USA has moved on to the next round. So we say the USA gets a 9 against South Korea, a 1, and we're putting in all of our predictions. You see that automatically populates here.
Yeah.
Now we're playing against Iran. Man, Iran. If I could give them a negative, I give them a 1. My friends in Iran. Yeah. USA, USA, USA. And so we'll move on through all the way through here. Oh man, we're scoring 9 time after time. We just absolutely rock here. And give these guys a 1. And basically, what this allows you to do is fill out pretty much your entire bracket here.
Yes.
For this. And you could, once you get done here, you come down here to the return to group stage, and you can come in and just kind of play with this. It basically allows you to build out.
So go back to that other screen. I want to point something out.
All right.
You had, okay. So change the Iran USA score. Say Iran USA 0.
It's so un-American.
I just blank out.
It feels wrong. It feels wrong, Oz.
Just blank. No. Just blank it out. Blank it out.
I mean, I don't know. They could have a team.
No. What I'm saying, blank it out.
Delete the number in the cell. I noticed it too.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have populated without an actual numeral in.
Right. So those are the kind of things we think about. But I mean, this thing is beautiful. But I did notice that there should be a trigger where if there isn't something in both of those cells, don't calculate anything.
Man, I am
I
not
can
going to show any of my stuff on here.
I can almost guarantee you it'll be that way by this time tomorrow.
You're so thorough. But everyone, you should download this. Everyone should download this.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing.
So here's the thing. So go out to spreadsheet1.com and the spreadsheetguru.com and check this out. Go ahead and download. I mean, Oz, a lot of people like soccer, man.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, whenever Moran Luha put this out, man, like hundreds of thousands of people downloaded this thing. So I think this is pretty awesome. Go check out these websites. That's my news of the week. What you got, Jordan?
All right, so I have our friend of the show, Sylvia Juhas, so Excel TV friend of the show and PhD Excel historian. She wrote her dissertation on Excel history. And I know that she actually gave us a press release. She has written several new jingles, four new jingles to be exact. And let me just make sure I tell you where they are. They were featured. They're for the Mr. Excel podcast, 3 of which were featured in episode 1,886. Man, that's a lot of episodes. And you can go on. Remember to go look at this episode. Let me screen share real quick.
His episodes are only 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
Right. So 3 of them were featured on there. Yeah, it's not like us. So you're in and out with his episodes. So she's written some awesome new jingles. I know you've heard her jingles before. Santa Baby was one of them, and they're really good. And I think she also has one. And let me make sure I get this press release correct. She also has one for the Dueling Excel guys. So that's coming up. It's video featurette is currently in production for the Dueling Excel theme song. So so that is the awesome Excel news. She's a friend of our show, so make sure to check her out. It's coming in late June and early July.
Are we gonna get to hear one? Are you going?
I'm not really sure how to do that through here. I feel like it's going to have to come out through my speakers, and it's not going to sound good. So you should all check it out. You know she's very talented on the. What's up?
Just type in her name and jingles, and I'm sure it'll find it.
Yeah.
Bing might even find it.
Excel jingles.
Do it. Come on, Jordan, give it a shot, man.
Yeah.
All right. Let's try it. We're going to try it on the.
System information, but let's go ahead and try it.
All right. Let me see here. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to unplug, and hopefully it'll come through the speakers. So this is kind of awkward. All right.
Podcast sponsored by Easy Excel. Our Excel for Mr. Excel podcast, episode 1886. Grouping and sorting Power Pivot dates. Hey, welcome back to the Mr. Excel Netcast. I'm Bill Jellin.
So that was the first one. I'm not really sure where they come about in the later part. So I don't know if we want to put our listeners through the entire Mr. Excel podcast. It's kind of weird to watch a podcast within a podcast, you know. Let me just share this with you just one more time. Make sure to take a look at this. It's the Group and Sort Dates and Power Pivot podcast 1,886.
Right.
So that is the Excel news I have for you, my dear audience.
Right.
John, Oz, do you have anything to share before we move on to shameless plugs?
No news from me today.
All right. Shameless plugs from me. Nothing. You know, I thought that after I did my after I was at my conference last week, I said, okay, I'm going to jump on the blog, but it hasn't really happened. So here's the thing. I'll tell you right now, we're sitting at about 660 or so subscribers to our YouTube channel, which isn't too bad for not 9 episodes up until tonight, and maybe 3 months in. We'll take that. But here's the thing: once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're working on something special. We're working on some special stuff behind the screen. I mean, behind the scene, there's a lot going on here at Excel TV. So much more to come. Stay tuned. As we hit 1,000 subscribers, we'll be sharing a lot more information on that.
Yes.
Oz, what you got?
Well, I will be performing stand-up at the Sedgwick Stop at Chicago and North Avenue here in Chicago, the 22nd of June at 9 p.m. All right, and what else? I submitted the second third of the Excel book I'm writing, Guerrilla Data Analysis. That was submitted this weekend. The final third is due soon, and is due to hit bookshelves and your house next spring. And when I submit that book, then I go in full mode to move to Portland, Oregon. So welcome me there, people.
You can't take a dirt nap in snow, man.
What?
You can't take a dirt nap and sneak to Portland.
No, I ain't gonna take no dirt nap, man. But no, so yeah, so the big thing that's coming up, yeah, is the stand-up that's coming up on the 22nd of June.
All right. So, John, anything you'd like to share? Do you have what's going on with your products right now?
Well, yeah, talking about shameless plugs. You know, I've had my Peltier Tech chart utility out there for a bit over a year now, and you know, it had a whole bunch of good stuff in it, and I've been working on some other stuff behind the scenes, and so now I have an advanced edition, and that's coming out on Tuesday, and I mean Thursday. Today's Tuesday, and if you go Thursday and Friday and buy yourself a license, it'll cost you the same as the regular version. So it's an advanced one. It's got a bunch of new chart types in there, and a few extra little tricks, and some stuff people have been asking for, and some stuff I just think is cool. You know, half the stuff there is there just because I like putting all the stuff I use in one place, and so if I can share it with people, that's good too. So it's at peltiertech.com, and you just follow the links to the utility.
Great, thank you, Jordan.
And thank you guys.
No, not really a whole lot. Nothing really to promote. I'll let you know though if I have something the next few weeks.
Riveting.
I bring the entertainment. I'm just so awkward.
He's not a sales guy, you know. I know the feeling.
You're still recovering from the stories you told us.
I just really, man, I just
barely
feel
show his face. Look.
I know.
So where can you find us? Well, man, we're all over the place. You can find us on YouTube, of course. We're up to 660 subscribers now. A lot's going to go on once we hit 1,000 subscribers, so we're planning a lot of things behind the scenes. Find us, of course, on Facebook, and hey, over there on Twitter today we hit 100 followers. So thank you.
That was one of them.
You out there.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate that. It's like, I'm on the show. I guess I got to follow these guys. So
yeah,
thank you,
right.
Thank you for that. That's pretty much the way it went. Also, hey, you can go ahead and ask to join our HOA circle. So right now, the way we send these out is we just kind of post that we're going to have the episode to a lot of different groups, and maybe we send it out to our previous guests. But if you want to be contacted every time that we going to have one of these episodes, go ahead and ask to be added to our HOA circle, our Hangout on Air circle, and we'll go ahead and add you to that and make sure that you're informed every time we're going to have one. Also, make sure that you tell the elf down the street and email your $20 bill to Jordan in reference to the brain teaser. So, with that, we come to the end of our show.
Yeah.
I'll go quick roundtable. Jordan.
Huh?
I just say keep
Go
on
ahead,
selling,
Oz.
friends.
No, I want to thank John for being here, because talk with a fellow freelancer, because my story is one of having been laid off and wondering, okay, what now? And I've liked the freelancing. It's been rough at times, very rough, but I've liked the rodeo aspect of it, of
Yes.
the gunslinger aspect
Yes.
of it,
Very satisfying.
because it started, being in a corporation and having some problem. I fixed the problem. Now I own this routine. I don't want a routine. I need another marauding, dirty town where there's no law, so I can
They need a gaucho
enforce the law.
not a routine.
That's right. So, yeah, I save all the women and children. If there's no women and children to save, I got to go find it. And that's what I like as freelancer.
Yep.
So thanks for being here, John, fellow marshal.
Hey, guys, it was a lot of fun.
All right.
Good to meet you all. I know your names, and now I know your faces.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, John. I appreciate you being here. The chart MIT guy, and a guy who's just been around creating charts and really inspiring all of us here. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So until next time, this is Rick Grantham along with Oz Du Soleil and Jordan Goldmeyer. Saying we'll see you next time in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.